Good Thursday afternoon, and thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. New today, the U.S. added 119,000 jobs in September, a stronger than expected figure and a sign that the economy was adding jobs at a steady rate before the government shutdown. However, the data is mixed, with unemployment sitting around 4.4%. The report was delayed because of the shutdown and could influence the Fed to cut interest rates. Right now, it's predicted that the Feds will not be cutting rates until next year. Taking a closer look at Minnesota's economy now, a new report finds the state is falling behind. The Chamber of Commerce released its 2026 business benchmarks, and it shows Minnesota ranks 38th among states for GDP per capita. It also found Minnesota's labor force is only increasing 0.2% per year, ranking Minnesota 40th nationally. They say you should care about this because a good economy means better wages and a better quality of life.
To the extent that we are able to drive innovation, create jobs, that's what increases wages and creates more job opportunities for people, and also helps us invest in things at the community level.
However, it is not all bad news. The report says Minnesota still has an educated and skilled workforce and has seen an uptick in new businesses since 2020. It also says more opportunities for underrepresented groups and immigrants moving to the state are what is helping sustain our workforce. Well, right now, Target cannot get its footing. The latest earnings report from the Minnesota company shows overall sales are down 1.5%. They saw a slight increase in sales online, but their in-store sales were down 2.7%. The number of in-store shoppers dropped, and those shoppers are spending less. That's why, as Gordon Severson reports, Target leaders are trying something new to bring more shoppers back into the stores.
In a world of online retailers like Amazon, you may think that a lot of Target sales are online these days.
We all think that everything has moved to online.
But U of M marketing professor George John says most major retailers like Target are only making about 20% of their sales online.
It's not 50% of sales. It's not 80% of sales.
The vast majority of the money is still made in the store. And that's why Target leaders announced a renewed focus on the in-store experience during the company's third quarter conference call.
I'm happy they're actually going to spend money in the midst of a profit recession to go and freshen up the stores. They have to do that because that's what sets that brand identity they have. It's not set online.
Target's new strategy includes spending $5 billion next year to renovate stores to make them more attractive. The company will also add about 20,000 new products over the holiday shopping season. They're also slashing prices on more than 3,000 items because the company understands family budgets are tight.
You're seeing just the general uncertainty in the economy.
Ron Wirtz with the Minneapolis Federal Reserve says job growth is slowing down and middle and lower income families are spending less money. And this could be one reason why a mid-tier retailer like Target is struggling.
Because households feel it. Businesses like Target feel it.
While Target executives can't control the economy, John says they can control their brand image and identity. And if they focus on that, he believes the company can turn things around.
What they have to do is to go back to the merchandising that they were masters of merchandising 15 years ago. So they know what to do. It's in their DNA. So they have to get back there.
New today, the TSA is proposing a fee if you try to fly without a real ID or acceptable form of identification. The $18 fee would get you through security checkpoints after going through a biometric scan if you don't have the correct documentation. The fee for not having a real ID would be used to pay for those kiosks with the biometric technology. Right now, the public can weigh in on this proposal. An emotional day in our nation's capital where the world said goodbye to former Vice President Dick Cheney. The funeral happening at the National Cathedral in Washington with several politicians from both parties in attendance. Former President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and former Vice President Mike Pence, just to name a few. Former President George W. Bush giving the eulogy for his vice president.
In his memoir, President Ford described Dick's steadiness, his low-key style, and his absolute loyalty. I know exactly what he meant. These are not traits easy to come by in Washington. Being calm, reticent, undramatic, and untrustworthy are not everyone's formula for success in politics. But they were the Cheney way.
In a speech about her dad, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney said his final words were to tell her mother, his wife, of course, that he loved her. We could be approaching a troubling milestone in the fight against the measles virus. Earlier this week, the New York Times reported that the strain of measles responsible for an outbreak in Texas is now linked to cases in other states. And if cases keep climbing into January, the virus may no longer be considered eliminated here in the U.S. Kent Erdahl explains the level of concern in Minnesota and the new surveillance strategy that could offer some hope.
The medical director of the Children's Minnesota Primary Care Clinic in Minneapolis calls the state of measles prevention
just incredibly discouraging.
And Dr. Chase Shudak says the feeling starts right here because while the national MMR vaccination rate for kindergartners has slipped below herd immunity status over the years, Minnesota's rate has dropped off even faster, now among the 5 worst in the country.
The real problem that I think we've noticed is that more and more families are coming in already having made a decision. They are not curious regarding kind of what our experience is, what the data that we've seen is.
It's gotten so discouraging that the biggest emerging hope for combating outbreaks may come from our toilets.
Wastewater is one piece of that puzzle. It's one indicator of what's happening in the population.
Stephanie Meyer is a senior epidemiologist for the Minnesota Department of Health, which took over the U of M's statewide wastewater surveillance program that has helped with early detection of COVID, flu, and RSV. This year, they began working with a national network that also looks at the measles virus. And in October, a spike in Rochester caught their eye.
What we found in Rochester was a positive finding in wastewater, and we did identify one case shortly after that finding. The peak of the amount of virus that we were finding in the samples went right along with that person's course of illness.
And you found household level data by sampling wastewater for an entire city?
Yeah, if the size of the sewer shed, which is really everybody that contributes to a particular wastewater facility, are between 100 and 200,000 people, you can detect one individual case of some diseases.
That is an incredible amount of specificity.
Mm-hmm. It's groundbreaking work, and it's really kind of cutting-edge technology from a population view, which is what public health is all about.
Meyer says they're now working to expand the measles pilot program statewide.
Still in the validation and testing phases.
One more alert is always useful.
Especially at a time when the most vulnerable are most at risk.
This is really a depressing failure of public sentiment that people aren't as worried about their neighbors and their friends and their relations as it seems like they were in the past.
MDH has confirmed 24 measles cases so far this year. The good news is that the virus has not been detected again in Rochester or the other 3 wastewater sites in the state. Developing now, crypto ATMs are now banned in St. Paul. The city council voted on the ban, saying it is to prevent scams. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Report, thousands of people nationwide reported scams connected in some way to these kiosks. The overwhelming majority of victims were over the age of 60. Several associations representing retailers and grocers opposed the ban.
We have an online scam crisis that we are knee-deep in the middle of. And I think that these machines are a very powerful tool used by criminals to facilitate these scams. Saying, think before you use this, I am a gigantic fan of. Education would shut down most of these scams.
St. Paul isn't the first city in the metro to ban those kiosks, but it is the biggest. What is the most generous day in the year for Minnesota? Already millions of dollars have been raised for local organizations for Give to the Max Day. Today, several organizations and businesses are lending a helping hand. Over in Plymouth, the Fox and Pantry collecting coats and hats and mittens for people who are experiencing homelessness. And right now, you can also donate to the organization that is running this. It's called Coded in Love. You can go to givemn.org and search by name if you know the name of the organization that you'd like to donate to. There are thousands of nonprofits and schools to choose from and support. You can also go to the left-hand side where you can filter groups out according to a cause that matters to you. We talked with GiveMN's CEO, and she acknowledges it's not always easy to give, especially when some families are bouncing back after the government shutdown.
All of the things that, we really love and cherish about living in this place are powered and provided by nonprofits. So when we're able to give together on a day like Give to the Max, that helps ensure that all of the things that we love about this place remain vital throughout the year. And what I find really heartening is that gifts of all sizes really add up to make a difference.
On that website, you can give any amount, and it can be monthly or just a one-time donation. It is completely up to you. Some good news this morning. If you are buying gifts on Amazon, the company says shoppers will now have extra time to return presents this year. For most items purchased through December 31st, returns will be accepted through January 31st of 2026. Products must be in original or unused condition. However, there are some exceptions. Some items like Apple branded products can only be returned through January the 15th. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.